Live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Total Education Show, the talk shop for teachers, parents, and administrators. Here's your host of the show, Neil Haley, the Total Tutor.
We're back to the Total Education Show on the Total Education Network. Remember to go to my website, TotalTutor.org, for more information. Well, I love interviewing authors. The reason I enjoy it so much is because they are the cornerstone of education, because they educate us through their books, and they engage students and young adults to learn to read and understand and love reading. You can't just always read an encyclopedia or read specific textbooks. You need things that really interest kids. And I want to welcome to the program Hart Getson. Hart, thanks for calling the program.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. And you wrote a book called Echo's Revenge, and it's a series, and I guess it kind of relates to what's been going on with the Hunger Games and something that really engages young adults, because I think that's a key component nowadays, is that basically if you want to write those types of novels, you must engage them. You must make them really on the edge of their seat when they're reading, to kind of really picture what's going on and the excitement that they have, so they don't want to put down their book, because there's so many other opportunities for young people today with social media and texting and email and the internet and all the different types of things, television, so you have to really make it an exciting book for them to keep reading.
Exactly. And that's why I basically wrote it in a video game kind of style. I wrote it just for video gamers and for anybody who likes basically, a 280-some page roller coaster ride. You got to keep them turning the pages, especially these guys who've been playing video games. They want to be immersed, and they want a lot going on, and they want a lot of information, flying at them, and they want to, have twists that they have to understand and kind of figure out. And it's sort of a new kind of narrative style that I just put together just for this book, for that purpose, to keep them engaged.
And see, that's so interesting. And I guess I want you to define for your audience what a video game style is, kind of giving us specific examples, because I'm not able to picture it.
Sure.
I was a video game fiend when I was younger. I'm 39 now. I was a big Madden fan and big into all types of sports games, would never stop playing video games, really. But when I got older, I kind of just stopped. When I went to grad school, that's kind of when it disappeared, to the point now where if I even had time to do anything for myself, with my family, with 3 children, and then plus the business and my education talk show, forget about it. But tell us how that genre is and how you kind of are able to do it, because I'm still a little bit confused on what you do.
Well, I started off with a really brief, intense game scene, and then what I did was, just like, say, in a first-person shooter, you can be in the first person, or you can get a scene from, which is a lot more like a third person. So I changed perspectives through the book with a narrative kind of continuity, but I didn't limit the narrative to a traditional kind of, storybook kind of feel. I use different perspectives. I have sort of data coming in, like different maps and information, and even links in the book that you can bump out onto the internet, because I notice a lot of video gamers, they're playing the game and they're texting and they're madly multiplexing and all these different media, and and that's part of the reason why I'm so fascinated by these guys. I think we talk a lot about, how almost ADD gamers are, and that they, have a hard time paying attention to things. But what I find fascinating is that they can multiplex, and they can really take information in a lot of different ways at the same time, and they can make these sort of rapid-fire decisions very successfully in a game construct for a long period of time. So I thought I'd pull in a little bit of an external stimuli that way, by having in the ebook direct links out of the story that relate to things that are being talked about in the story, whether they're characters or companies or technologies. And I have links in the book as well. If someone's got their smartphone, they can jump on and check some things out, so that it becomes more of a multimedia kind of experience, or at least, it has that potential. And then the narrative of this story has maybe some things aren't explained fully in every chapter or every turn of events. And basically what we have in the second book is sort of like a different level, although it's a different story because it's the game creator's story and how this thing was created and what went wrong and, how things happen to these sort of master gamers and how they were pulled into this world. So we end up with two parallel stories, and they overlap in certain scenes, and we find out why in the first story, in the first book, for example, why don't they hear from the game designer after a certain point? It's kind of a mystery. And then, so when you read the second book, you get their story, and you get more of an idea about what game theory is going on and a lot of the technology, but it's explained very clearly and simply so that the fantastic aspects of the first book are completely plausible. And again, in the second book, we have links to real companies that build real stealth technologies, shape-shifting technologies, and all the stuff that went into this horrible monster that was after these guys.
So I see, and I guess I want to get into the story a bit to kind of catch my listeners up to say, oh my gosh, this is something like that definitely, if parents are listening to the show saying, oh, this is something I need to buy, my kids, I have teenagers that they don't want to pick up any books and read them. They're all all they're interested in is their video games. So I think two major things that makes the story really interesting in a way before you've even gotten to the characters. One is, again, the holes that are in the book, that you kind of have to figure out things. There's a mysterious type of situation which kids love because they can come out with alternative endings, or where are these characters going in this? And then the other part about, I guess, the investigation part of it, where you're looking at the scientific end of things, where kids say, well, how does this work? What to do? And then you give them the opportunity to stop for a second, and that's the teacher in you, and go and find those links. Go ahead and click on them and research and look more into it so they have more prior knowledge, so they go back and read your book and they understand it more. And I think that's one of your goals. You're an educator in that way, and that's why I think all authors are educators in so many ways. So kind of let's go into the characters. You talked about at the beginning there was a big video gaming situation, and then the characters and where they go in the direction of the series, so that seeing that this is what the story's kind of telling, so that people say, hey, I got to go ahead and buy this book or download this book as soon as possible.
Like I said, it starts out in a video game, and the prologue starts there, and we kind of learn there are these two guys, these two brothers, fighting this invincible creature together, and how they deal with it. And the first chapter opens, we basically pull out over these guys' shoulders, and we realize that they've been playing a game, and one of them has just been decimated. But it doesn't matter. They're great gamers, and it's all in the virtual world. Very quickly, we find out that these guys are two brothers in a profoundly dysfunctional household with very controlling boyfriend of their mother's. Their parents are divorced, and they're not terribly sure, where their dad is and what happened to him and why he's not there, but they know they're stuck in this kind of really difficult household situation, and they have battles with this guy and, just daily everything that happens every day from, what are they going to eat or what are they going to do, or, this guy controlling the house. And early in the story, Reggie, the older brother, is kind of recognized in that first video game of being a terrific master gamer in this game, and so he's invited to a focus group. And the mother's boyfriend, doesn't want him to go and won't allow him to go, but he sneaks out and he goes anyway. And that's when things kind of open up for him, because all of the gamers, all of the biggest contestants are there, and they're real, and he finds out all kinds of interesting things about them and how different they are from being virtual gamers online. And other strange things happen that sort of are precursors to the way this creature, Echo, tracks and manipulates these guys against each other in the beginning of the story. And basically he goes home and it's discovered that he went to this thing and there's a big blow up, and the two brothers decide, that's it, we got to get out of here. So basically they decide they're going to find their dad. They're going to hitchhike down from Washington State to Pasadena, California. And so they just head out and they start picking up rides. Oddly, these drivers every time they need a ride, someone kind of shows up. And so they have this whole string of really interesting kind of marginal characters they get rides with all down the coast. And all along the way, these guys kind of have something to impart to them about either, social psychology or tactics in real life on a battlefield, or solving kind of personal problems, just this whole kind of range of codes of behavior and codes of ethics and codes of conduct that sort of come out of their conversations. And by the time they get down to San Francisco, they think, I won't give the whole story away, but they think they're really, well, first of all, they realize all their fellow gamers are being kidnapped because they see their pictures on milk cartons and they see all kinds of alerts about them. So they're very quickly figure out that they are being pursued. There's a kidnapper. They don't know what it is. And finally, this creature makes itself very, visible to them in San Francisco, and they have a very big kind of battle scene there. And they manage to get away from this thing, and then they realize they're in some sort of bizarre reality game where this creature has become real somehow, and they have no idea how. And they keep trying to communicate with the game designers who they met, at the focus group, but they're not getting anything. They have to do everything on their own. They're not getting any information. So there's just a lot of working together as brothers. It's about loyalty. It's about kind of tactics and life codes of conduct.
Well, when I'm listening, and we are close to running out of time, but definitely love to bring you back on again to talk about specifics of why and deciding why you're so into video gamers. Because I think from this series, what I gather is that basically it takes you through reality to not reality, and then that's what these kids are every day. They go to school, they really don't pay attention to some of these gamers. They get home, they stay up all night, and they play games.
Exactly.
And this is what this book kind of gives you a ride. At first, it's like a normal situation. Hey, we're in a real world. Then Echo appears and then disappears, and then they're searching everywhere for him, and then they finally find out, oh my gosh, we are in a real video game. And that really can engage students to say, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? And I guess that's what the whole series is about. So where can we find more information on you, Hart, purchase your book, and also learn more about you?
Anytime at echohunt.com. You can find a continuing narrative about the book and where to buy the book and all about Sean Austin. And pretty much everything starts there as a trailhead and links to other websites.
Well, I appreciate you calling the program, Hart. Really think it's a very interesting book, and I want to pick it up and start to read it, especially being interested in video games and I guess sci-fi. So you provide a lot of interesting stuff, and I think that the readers will really be interested in it. So I appreciate you calling.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care, Hart.
You too.
Okay, bye. All right, that was Hart Getson. You're listening to the Total Education Show on the Total Education Network. We'll be back in